union is always against because the privacy issue. But I think as far as school is concerned, security in schools, school is public yet can be made non-public in the sense that not anybody randomly can just come in. So the surveillance part, the so-called invasion of privacy, I think it's a minimum issue, and I hope the American Civil Liberty Union would not stand in the way. And the other sort of outside of the school building, in a public place such as roadside and intersection and a major parking lot and so on, those kind of places, I would think it's just like any other traffic camera that can be managed, okay, in the same way. Now, to minimize the so-called privacy issue, again, the people assigned to watch these cameras in the 24-hour sort of allotment can be qualified people, qualified in a sense that the volunteers, they are being selected, and they are actually being trained, and they know that these information and so on could be, private, privacy involved, so that they would not, just randomly sort of expose these information to other people. So if a town is totally sort of integrated in this kind of a secure surveillance arrangement, I think the town and the schools will be more secure. Okay, I think if you have more people watching, if any person behave somewhat strangely, okay, more eyes are watching, would more likely to identify, okay, why is this person at that such as hour, say, approach school with a package or with something, or person behaved not as normal as regular people, in the sense that is a little more uptight or a little more subconscious and so on, right? So this is where you can really prevent tragedies such as the Sandy Hook type of a situation. Now, and more people can add to the sort of probability of spotting the trouble. Okay, all right. So sometimes actually people since this tragedy does involve guns, that often people immediately jump to this conclusion that, hey, no guns is the best. But as I said, there are other reasons and so forth. This debate has been carried on a long time, and I don't think it's going to be resolved that easily. Although President Obama is trying to do something, I think, about the sort of assault weapon, and now there are some other extreme proposals which personally I don't think it's a good idea, but people suggest to actually give weapons to the school teachers. This is, again, in my opinion, is an overreaction. They're thinking if some bad guys with weapon come into school, the teacher can defend themselves and shoot the intruder. I really don't think that is a good idea, particularly the fact that if you have more weapons in schools, just imagine the possibility of those weapons being used for harming children. Okay, I mean, we just said it's difficult to understand why these things happen. All right, people snap, and there's no guarantee a school staff or teacher will never, sort of snap, right? So arming school officials or school teachers to defend children, I don't think that is a good idea. Okay, I think the school remain to be a gun-free zone is still the good idea. I think preventing other people carrying weapon coming in is a better approach, right? And if the town and school and the community all collaborate, okay, in an integrated way, I think the system will work and probably will prevent these things to happen. Okay, after all, this kind of tragedy doesn't happen every day. I mean, it's not. I mean, from a statistical point of view, it's a rare incidence, and if you increase the sort of prevention methods. Similarly, as you know, you drive a car, you buy car insurance and so forth, and if you have a they call it what is this the lock, you buy a lock in the system, the insurance company will reduce your rate. They're all based on statistics, and so if a town and school system collaboratively, okay, design a system and that the whole community is contributing to watching and to help in the security issue, I think the town and schools will be more secure. And if it's in terms of like insurance, then your insurance rate probably should drop drastically. Okay, so that's definitely something we should think about it. Okay, now speaking about these surveillance camera and cost, sometimes it's amazing nowadays that these cameras are so inexpensive. Okay, of course, in your own computer, personal computer, this camera, sometimes a few dollars, you get a camera. And it's very good resolution and so on and so forth. Whereas, of course, now in the school buildings, so those kind of cameras can be utilized, and it's you can monitor the entrance, you can monitor some major places. I think the outside in the road situation, because the weather and others reason, the camera has to be fortified, and that may make the cost a little higher. But even so, that's one-time cost, and probably is worthwhile. And comparing to have patrols on every street and patrols in the building and so on and so forth, I think the cost-wise is manageable. Okay, now this technology is already there. Maybe a little bit of tweaking on the software, in a sense, by linking cameras and with a panic button, sending out messages or alert messages, or making a direct phone call to certain places. And that it's a small, sort of software that people can easily put that together. and sometimes it already exists, just being utilized in the way that we together. So imagine, I live in the town of Somers, and the Somers has 4 schools: elementary school called Primrose, which is next to the high school on Route 139, and then has a middle school and an intermediate school located on 202. So for Somers town, the 3 major roads is Route 100, Route 202, and Route 139. And they only make 3 intersection points. And these 3 intersection points basically is the major entrance to the school systems. So if you have these 3 intersections monitored, in fact, the Route 100 and 202 intersection happen to be right at the corner of the town hall. So you basically monitored, the town hall traffic, as well as any other traffics that go into the school or come out of the school. Now, that kind of a surveillance and monitoring, I think, not only will improve the security issue, but also the side benefit, hopefully, is that it will have less drug traffic and less speeding. As you know, drugs still a problem. No matter which town you go to, there's always drug problem. And particularly recently, the overdose deaths due to drugs is not an insignificant thing. And speeding, we also know, particularly for teenagers, okay, that deaths caused by car accident, it's not insignificant. It's actually quite scary. So having this kind of a surveillance system, with the town and the community and the school in mind, put together, I think it would be very, very beneficial. And I don't think we are even violating any major rights of individual or privacy, because this whole surveillance process is not randomly offered to anybody or any. It's selected, qualified people, so that these surveillance will be, observed by more eyes, and for the purpose of helping, making these children feel secure in schools. Okay. All right. Now, let me see whether anything else that. You see, these monitoring or surveillance equipment nowadays, the multiple TV screens and so on, is so inexpensive. I mean, I think almost in the city, every building, every high-rise, every apartment, they all use this kind of thing, and they have cameras on every floor, and one security guard can watch every corner, everywhere of this building, right? So those kind of equipment is not really a stopper here, and the only thing we are suggesting here is, if you can make the system to be compatible with internet and with these surveillance images available or accessible through internet, it increases the potential, the power of it, and helps this collective collaboration, collective contribution to security workable. All right, And in our town, in Somers particularly, we can say select people from volunteers, from volunteer firemen. We can select from PTA members, or selected from retirees in our nice Heritage Hills community. I think people are willing to sign up for, say, okay, every Monday I can spend 2 hours from, say, 8 to 10 or whatever. Then somebody else will do. Now, when you have that kind of a multiple redundant observers on this internet system, I think, criminals will think twice, even, to go into, say, Somers, go into the town. For people that are behaving strangely, probably be spotted fairly easily because so many people are watching, right? Okay. Now, we all talked about prevention and so on. We left out this so-called emergency procedure, so forth, for schools, because that part, I think, through several other instances, people already developed, this emergency procedure thing in school, whether it's because of blackout, whether it's because of a fire or anything, they similarly sort of developed these procedures. But besides these, I also want to talk a little bit about is when these incidents happen, the people involved in this is put on trial. And we have a court system, in my opinion, is somewhat biased in a way of really helping the the people that caused damage, harm to innocent people. Okay, the rights of the victims sometimes is compromised or forgotten. Yet the court is focused on more to protect the rights of the criminals. This is a problem because I think we are talking about prevention. We are talking about deterrent. I think the punishment of a crime has to be considered as one deterrent factor. If you take that away, you are just losing that deterrent effect. Okay, if people realized there's no death penalty, no matter how many people I shoot and kill, there's no death penalty. I don't know that. Okay, some people argue the fact as well, when a crime happened, the people killed, dead, they're gone. You can't revive them. There's nothing you can do about it, right? Now the person, the criminal, is still alive. We talk about their life, whether we should, sentence them to death or not. It's this humanity issue. And the victims, are gone. I know two sides of the story. I know how people feel on each side. But I just feel from the whole situation, if prevention, deterrent is only way, then we should increase as much as we can, all right, the deterrent factors. I think punishment is one, okay? I don't have the statistics, but if you look at different states, some states have death penalty, some states don't. Do they have more crime in those states that have no death penalty? Or do have less crime in those states that have death penalty? It's an interesting question, and perhaps we could Google it in a search and find out. But I would venture to guess that with death penalty should have some deterrent, factor there, and people do, think about that consequences. Of course, people say, "Oh, sometimes these things happen. People don't even think anymore, and their brains are, not functioning anymore." But people go through cycles. People, sometimes these things are planned. Imagine somebody goes to school, killed so many people, and go through thinking, how do you, sort of accomplish that? They do go through a planning cycle. So whatever time cycle, there is a deterrent factor that influences people's thinking will be good, right? Because people may just stop. Maybe realize, well, okay, if I do this, I'll be, sentenced to death and so on. That may just prevent the person pursue further, right? So, all right, now, I randomly collected some of these pictures. I tell you, when you look at these pictures, sometimes you feel pretty sad, okay? Imagine in a small community, all of a sudden so many people get, killed, particularly young children. And imagine the grief the family and, the community have to bear. It's just unthinkable. So at this point, I think, as I said, television, radio, newspaper, everybody is thinking about it, talking about it, and we devote this hour to talk about this. We basically hope that we'll urge people to think through this in a calm way, and think through logically, and try to implement a solution that's really, really effective. And personally, I feel that only through collaboration or a collective means that you can really improve your security significantly. Otherwise, even you hire a professional security guard sitting there, I'm not so sure is as effective as that whole community working together, watching, protecting for themselves. Okay? Now, I personally have a small story I can tell you. This is back in year 2000 or so, before 9/11 anyway. And I was that time working as the Westchester Graduate School of the Polytechnic University. That campus is in Hawthorne on 9A. And I was doing internet, technology work and so forth, and I actually implemented a surveillance camera from our building, covering the parking lot and onto the 9A, where 9A and this parking lot has a light. Okay, if you are familiar with that area, you know that through 9A, passing that light, and very shortly you have an exit go on to Sawmill Parkway. And I put that camera there for one reason, of course, is doing experiment that time. We were doing this kind of online applications, internet online applications. But secondly, also in my selfishness to sort of cover that parking lot, so we know the parking spaces where is empty, where you can park. So I could, before I drive to work, and look at from internet, and I can see the parking lot is full or not full, and where, which side is more, have more space. And I could just, drive and go to, there are two entrances. I can choose one entrance and go in and park. And of course, the graduate students that work in the school on projects and so forth, we like to see them working very hard. And you can tell where there are cars parked there or not, sometimes even weekends. Now, this is not my main story. My main story was interesting. During that time, I have received an email from Florida. A person sent an email to me and thanked me that we have this web camera covering this intersection of 9A and that road. I forgot that road name, actually. It's just leading to these business park. And this person happened to be a retired policeman, and he said he used to be, running in this 9A is his beat. Okay, beat means he patrols that area. So when he saw that camera, he can see cars driving through there. It reminds his work and so forth. He was very sentimental about it. He says, I really enjoy watching this, as if I was still working, patrolling on that street, on that road, 9A. And I think I saved that email in my system, but probably the system is on some old computer. I forgot the name of this policeman. Now, if any policeman watching this show and happen to know there's a policeman retired in Florida who used to work in Hawthorne, patrolling 9A, then you know this is a real story and it's a real application. We just happen to be ahead of the time. It was done 10 years or 12 years ago, okay? So I want to share this story with you just to indicate the fact that this technology is old and can be easily implemented. And if we all put our minds together to work together and collectively thinking about security, thinking about how to keep our children safe, secure in our schools, I think we'll do ourselves a lot of good, okay? So, time's up, and looks like we had a random talk, but I hope it's not so random, and we all think about this important issue, and hopefully we will keep our children safe in our school. Thank you for watching. Thank you.